Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back, and I hope you guys are doing fantastic out there. In this video today, we're going to take a look at a lot of Olights. This is what I would call my EDC section. This is my i3T. This is another i3T. I love the lights that come in titanium. Those things are solid. The i3T is absolutely fantastic. It's got two modes of operation, a low and a high, and I think on high it's like 180 lumens, and it runs on a AAA battery. It was a very popular light, and I absolutely love the i3T. Now, they bumped up their game when they introduced the i5T. Pretty much the same thing as the i3T. It's got a low and a high mode, but it has extended run times because they've increased the battery up to a AA. It also is a brighter light. It has a softer shift between low and high. So the i5T is absolutely fantastic. It's like 300 lumens on high. Then they came out with the i5R, which was a rechargeable version of the i5T. And this R had a little battery. It was like a 14500 battery, lithium, rechargeable, and it could be charged with a USB-C charging cable. And it was just another addition and an upgrade, I guess you could say. And it's a fantastic light. Now, they had the i5 UV, which was a AA operated light. You could use this to find blood, maybe if you're hunting, or you could take it into a dark area, and oranges and whites and colors like that really pop. So the i5 UV was another version of the i5 platform running on that AA battery. Now, as you can see, all of these lights, including these longer ones, they all have dual direction pocket clips, and they're all very nice lights. Then the i3T Plus came out. It's a brighter, longer runtime version than the original i3T. It runs on dual AAA batteries, and these are just absolutely fantastic lights, the i3T Plus. I like that one personally very much because of the small diameter of the body, and it just fits right in your pockets. It's a nice longer light, so it's a deep carry. Not too big, but not too small. It's a good balance, good brightness. And then they upped the game again when they released the i5T Plus. So it had all the wonderful things that the i3T Plus had, but now it's in AA batteries. And it came out in 3 different colors. So you had like a cool white, all the way up to like a neutral white, and there was kind of like a warm white in the middle. If I had to pick one out of all of these, probably the i5R, to be honest with you, because that one is probably the most versatile. So now we're looking at 3 EDC lights that have been discontinued, and it's unfortunate because these 3 are absolutely fantastic. You have the M1T Raider, which ran on a single CR123 battery, or you could run a rechargeable RCR123 in this light. And like the i5T, it had similar size. In fact, it was a little shorter but a little stubbier. And I really like the M1T because, like the i5T coming in at 300 lumens, the M1T offered 500 lumens. But then they upped the game when they came out with the M1T Plus. These are fantastic. They run on dual CR123s or dual RCR123s. And instead of having only 2 modes of low and high, like the i5 series and the M1T series, the M1T Plus had 3 different modes of operation. So you had low of 15 lumens, which had an impressive 65 hours of runtime. That's 2.7 days. And then they had the high mode of 800 lumens, which threw 122 meters of throw out of these guys. And then they added a strobe on these. So the M1T Raider Plus is probably my favorite, but it's been discontinued. I wish they'd bring that one back. It's fantastic. Okay, now let's talk about some weapon lights. I have 3 lights here on the bottom, and I have 3 lights here on the top. Now these lights here from my pencil up, these are the lights that would be installed on small pistols. So they started off with the PL Mini. It had magnetic recharging. It was, I believe, 400 lumens. It had this nice bar that you could slide over and it would lock onto a Picatinny rail. It was a good light, but it had setbacks, it had drawbacks, and that was it wouldn't fit on super small compact pistols. Now on a regular size full frame pistol, it would fit just fine and work just fine. So to address that issue, they released the PL Mini 2, which had this little area here where you could slide this thing back and forth. So you could slide this up and back, and it would let you fine tune the placement of this on your compact firearm. So the PL Mini 2 was a big upgrade over the PL Mini, and I still run it on some of my compact pistols. It works just fine. Then they upped it up again when they released the Balder Mini. So the Balder Mini had everything that the PL Mini had with the addition of a laser. So now you've got a laser that's integrated in the lens of the light itself. You can see that black dot right above the LED. It's a fantastic light. You have a selection switch, so you can choose from laser only, laser with light, or light only. Of the small pistol light category, my pick is by far the Balder Mini. You had 600 lumens out of this one, and it had a red laser. You could get 130 meters of throw out of this Balder Mini. It was a fantastic light, and again, I still run these on some of my firearms. Now let's take a look at some of these larger ones. Olight did a really good job when they released the PL2. This runs on 2 CR123s or RCR123 batteries. It had, I think, 1200 lumens or something like that, and it was a very good light. And then I think it had like a strobe if you held both buttons down. Let's test that. Yep, it had a strobe, and it was just a really good weapon light. But they upped the game when they released the PL Pro. This is one of my personal favorites. In fact, I run this on my Beretta M9A3, and it's one of my favorites. The big thing that the PL Pro had that the PL2 did not have is the addition of magnetic charging. Now, not only did they add magnetic charging, but unlike these 3 smaller pistol lights that we showed before, these 3 took a special charger to charge them. The polarity of the magnet was opposite. When they came out with the PL Pro, this was the first weapon light that you could use a standard Olight charger on, and that just sold me on the PL Pro. This light is absolutely fantastic. It has 1500 lumens of output, which puts out 280 meters of throw. It also has a low mode, which gives you 300 lumens. So if you're in a building or walking around, you don't want that 1500 lumens blinding you, it had that low mode. And it also carries a strobe just like the PL2 did. They did a good job when they released the Balder RL. Now there's different versions of this. This is just the one I have. They've got some with green lasers, and mine here has a red laser. Now this Balder RL has also 300 lumens on the low setting, and it does have a high setting. It's not as high as the PL Pro though. It does have 1120 lumens as opposed to 1500 that you got out of the PL Pro. It also had a strobe function. It had 239 meters of throw, where the PL Pro had 280. So the Balder RL It's pretty much the same light as the PL Pro with the exception of they've added a laser here. So the laser is fantastic. The laser, for me personally, is not that big of a thing. The Balder RL runs on the dual CR123s or the RCR123s. It's a good light, but if I had to pick one of any of these, for my smaller guns, I'd pick the Balder Mini. And for my larger guns, like shotguns, rifles, even large pistols, I would choose the PL Pro hands down, just simply because it's rechargeable using a standard charger. And the laser's not that big of a thing for me personally. And we're going to talk about some of the headlamps that Olight has done over the years. These are just some of them that I own. This is the H05 light. This is a good one. But it's not my favorite. We're going to start here with the H1 Nova. Now these small ones, they run on that 16340 rechargeable lithium battery. The H1 Nova was fantastic. I used that one a lot. They upgraded it when they started the magnetic charging on this. They did the H1R because the H1 Nova did not have magnetic recharging. When they came out with the H1R, that was like a big upgrade and I loved it. Then they came out with the Perrin Mini. Boy, that thing was absolutely fantastic. My favorite headlamp of all these small ones for a long time was this Perrin Mini. I didn't like the head strap though, and that Velcro stuff that they had. But recently they released the Perrin 2 Mini, and this one just blows them all out of the way. This one has 2 lumens on the lowest setting, which lasts 10 days. It also has 1100 lumens on the brighter setting. That'll last 1.4 hours, and it puts out 150 meters of throw. And not only that, they've added a power level indicator to this right on the top of the button here. You can't see it unless it's activated. And it's got 2 red functions. So you got red LED as well as an SOS red LED. This Perrin 2 Mini is absolutely fantastic. And all of these have been fantastic. But if I have to pick one of the small ones, it's definitely hands down, without a doubt, it's going to be the Perrin 2 Mini by a long shot. It's a great light. Perrin 2 is awesome too, but it does not have a power level indicator, does not have a red LED, and it's not as bright and not as good of run times on moonlight mode. Now, up here on the back row, we're going to be talking about the larger headlamps. These first 2 run on the 18650 lithium ion battery, and this third one, this orange one here, this one runs on the 21700 lithium ion battery. All 3 of these lights are absolutely fantastic. We've got the H2R, which was a wonderful headlamp, magnetic rechargeable. It was a fantastic light. I love this thing. And then they released the Perrin, the original Perrin with the proximity sensor. Perrin was a good light, but a lot of people liked the H2R better because it had more throw. The Perrin was more of a floodlight, where the H2R was more of a spotlight. This thing had a tight hot spot that had longer distances, and it had a really good moonlight mode. The Perrin, though, I felt was a better light. It's just a better light than the H2R, in my opinion. For me, a headlamp, I'm going to be walking around camp and stuff like that, so I don't need a long distance of throw personally on a headlamp. If that's what you're looking for, then maybe you should try to find the H2R. It's got good throw versus the Perrin. But the Perrin had superior run times and things like that, and brighter lumens, and it was just a good replacement over the very solid H2R. Then they released the Perrin 2 over here. It blew these other 2 out of the water. I love the Perrin 2. Obviously, you can see that my clear-cut winner here, or my choice of these 3 on the back, I would choose the Perrin 2 every time. This thing is fantastic. It's got a moonlight mode of 5 lumens that will last 12.5 days. It has a turbo mode of 2,500 lumens. That lasts for 2 minutes. Then it steps down to 800 lumens for about 2.9 hours. And it puts out 165 meters of throw out of this guy. So you get a lot of run time. It's a great light. It comes with a head strap, which the H2R used to come with a head strap that was fantastic. But when they released the Perrin, you had to buy the freaking head strap separate. And people were complaining about that. So when they released the Perrin 2, they made that right. And it included a head strap with the light. Now, the proximity sensor on the Perrin, there was a lot of people that complained about that because it was taking the light too low when you would get too close to something. It would drop you all the way down to low. People didn't like that. The H2R didn't have that problem because it had no proximity sensor. You could get right up on something and still be on that bright mode. Well, the Perrin 2, they did a wonderful job with the proximity. Instead of making it drop down to low, they made it drop down to medium. So you still had a good balance of working light and the drop down from the proximity so you weren't blinding yourself. So it was just a really, really good improvement over the previous generation of headlamps. So again, my choice by far, if I had to choose one, Perrin 2 all the way, no doubt. These are your small CR123 or 16340 or your RCR123 battery powered lights. These ones are really nice. We're going to start with the S1 Baton. This one did not have magnetic charging. It ran on a standard CR123 and it was a very, very good light. Now, they updated it by releasing it as the S1R and they added the magnetic recharging. And so they took a good light and made it better. But they didn't stop there. They started releasing this S1 Mini, which did not have magnetic charging, but it had a dual direction pocket clip. It was bright. It ran on a CR123. This little S1 Mini is absolutely fantastic. This was a very, very good light. Almost identical to its big brother, the S1R Baton 2. This one was popular for a long time. It had a lot of power. This one I think was 600 lumens, and don't quote me, but I think the S1R was like 1,000 lumens or something like that. So it was a much upgrade over the Baton Mini. But a lot of people, including myself, love the Baton Mini because of its small form factor. It was the smallest one of all of these little lights. So this back row, these are all three the same. These are all the Baton 3. These can all be put in this case. So you can open this case, you can drop a light in there, and it will illuminate, telling you that the light is charging. So this is basically a case that you charge, and then you put the light in there and it extends the amount of time that these lights will run. So these Baton 3s had all of the wonderful things that the S1R Baton 2 had, but upgraded. So it was a brighter light. You had half a lumen on your moonlight mode, which lasts 20 days on these Baton 3s. And then on turbo, you had 1,200 lumens. These little guys put out 166 meters of throw, which is unheard of. And then when you make the addition of adding this case that can be recharged and you put a fully charged light in there, this extends the potential of runtime on these Baton 3s to 94 days. That is crazy runtime to get out of such a small little light. This was USB-C rechargeable, and so the Baton series, my favorite, is definitely the Baton 3 by far. Now these next lights, with the exception of this one right here, the arc filled, this next section, they all pretty much run on 18650 lithium ion batteries, again with the exception of the arc filled. So these ones are the mid-size EDC lights, and starting off, they released what they call the S2, which ran on a standard 18650 battery. And this was a good light. A lot of people use this. It was a really good light. They did release another one right between here, which was the S2R, which the only difference was really it had a tail cap that was magnetic charging. So then they released this S30 Baton 3. This one was absolutely fantastic. It had a phenomenal moonlight mode of runtime at the time of this one coming out, and it is one of my favorites even still to this day. Then they took that light, which was amazing, and they released the S2R Baton 2. So remember the last section that I showed, I was talking about the S1R Baton 2. This one, this is basically the big brother to this guy here. So it's an 18650 version. It's a fantastic light. And then they released the Baton Pro, which was more of a floodlight. It had 2000 lumens versus I think 1100 or whatever this one was. It had 2000 lumens, but it was a very floody beam, so you could see a lot of things around camp, where the S2R Baton 2 had a little bit more throw. Then they started getting into these guys over here, the Warrior Mini. And what that did was it took the magnetic charging, which was just a flat bottom, and they started making it where you could use a tail cap switch and charge. So this was a very good addition to the S2R. It was a good upgrade, I guess you could say. Then they released the Warrior Mini 2. Same thing. It had a tail cap switch that you could use not only to charge the light, but to also use it to turn the light on and off and things like that. Now these three over here, well, all these ones in the front row, they don't have a tail cap switch. They only have tail cap recharging. In the back here, these are the ones that have that switch on the tail cap. So you can have momentary or constant. Very cool, innovative features. When they came out with the Mini 2, they added a proximity sensor. If you take a look right here, they added that proximity sensor. So if you got too close to something, the light would dim itself down so that you're not blinding yourself. It was a very, very good addition to this lineup. And recently they came out with the Baton 3 Pro. I love this Baton 3 Pro. The Baton 3 Pro was pretty much everything that the S2R Baton 2 was, and even more. The Baton 3 Pro had a moonlight mode of half of a lumen that lasts 120 days. That is 4 months of moonlight mode. It is just absolutely fantastic. None of these lights have anything that comes even remotely close to that on runtime. They also increased the turbo up to 1500 lumens, and it punches out 175 meters of throw. It is a fantastic light. We can't have a discussion of EDC lights without bringing the arc filled in. This one is fantastic. It's got a moonlight mode of 1 lumen, which lasts 8 days. It has 1000 lumens on turbo, which gives you just over 100 meters of throw. Got this really nice power level indicator, so you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 bars. It's magnetic charging. Its flat design makes it very easy to fit. It's not big and round like all these other ones. It's very easy to carry. You don't even know it's there half the time. Plus they added a green laser. So the arc feld, in my opinion, if I had to pick one out of all of these, that'd be a very, very hard choice for me, because honestly, every single one of these sitting here is fantastic. It'd probably be a toss-up between the arc feld and the Baton 3 Pro. I'd probably choose the arc feld, to be honest with you. Now, since we were on the topic of the Baton series, I cannot ignore these two lights. These are discontinued, so they're hard to find. You can sometimes find these on eBay, and they're worth finding if you can find them. And I don't know why they got rid of these, because in my opinion, these were some of the best lights that they've ever made. Starting here on the left, we are looking at the S1A. This runs on a standard AA battery. It can also run on a lithium rechargeable battery or a standard lithium AA battery. It can run on a nickel metal hydride AA rechargeable battery. You can put 14500s in this light. This light is absolutely fantastic. It has a magnetic tail cap. On moonlight mode of half of a lumen, you get 25 days of runtime out of this light. If you're using a standard AA battery, you get 220 lumens on turbo. That'll last about 2.5 hours, and it gives you 118 meters of throw out of this little light. It's IPX8 impact resistant, and it also runs a 14500 battery. If you put a 14500 battery in this S1A, you bump up the lumens from 220 up to 600 lumens. Why they don't make this one anymore is beyond me. It was one of their best lights that they've ever made, in my opinion. The one next to it is the big brother. This is the S2A. This one runs on dual AA batteries. It has a moonlight mode of half of a lumen as well. And because we have double the batteries, we're doubling the moonlight mode. Instead of 25 days, we get 50 days of moonlight mode out of this thing. And on high, instead of getting 220 lumens, we get 550 lumens, which puts out 110 meters of throw out of this S2A. Both of these lights are absolutely fantastic, and for me personally, it would be a dream come true if I could see Olight bring those back to their lineup. Now, this next section of lights is what I would consider your tactical EDC lights. So these have bigger batteries. The M1X Striker, this was a really good light. You had a tail cap switch, you turn the light on, and then you could use the side switch here and cycle through the modes. It had a strobe, it had a fantastic moonlight mode, ran on a standard 18650 lithium ion rechargeable battery. Just a wonderful light. The M2T was a fantastic light, also a standard 18650 lithium ion rechargeable battery. Had the tail cap switch here that you could use for like momentary or constant on. You had the mode switch. You could do all these fantastic things out of this light. Both of these lights have been, well, all three of these in fact have been discontinued. Well, all the way up to here too. But this next one was the M2R Warrior. This was the predecessor to the M2R Pro Warrior. This was an 18650 lithium ion rechargeable version. It had the magnetic tail cap that functioned for charging as well as momentary or constant on. It had a tactical mode and a normal mode of operation. It was a fantastic light, ran on a standard battery, none of this proprietary stuff. The M2R Pro Warrior blew all these previous ones out of the water by a long shot. So of all these lights that you can see here today, of these four, the M2R Pro Warrior is my choice by far. I do not have the new Warrior 3S. If I had that one, I'd probably be checking that one as my favorite, but I don't have that one. This one has a moonlight mode of half a lumen, which will last 50 days, which is fantastic, and what they can accomplish with that moonlight mode blows me away. It's 1 lumen for 50 days. On turbo, it had 1800 lumens, which gave you 300 meters of throw. This light is my go-to, and I just absolutely love the M2R Pro Warrior. So I could only imagine what the Warrior 3S is like. I mean, this thing was proven very, very solid light. These next two is the Odin and the Odin Turbo. The Odin is a weapon mounted light, very good light. You can mount this to your weapon. You get a low and a high mode. And the Odin Turbo does the same exact thing, except it's not an LED. It's an LEP. It's a white laser. So I'll turn that on for just a second. So you got the tail cap switch here. You just give it kind of a half press and you get that light. And then deep press gives you that brighter setting. And this one is absolutely fantastic if you're wanting to reach out and touch something. A good throw in a small package. This thing is fantastic. It doesn't have that spill of light. It just has the tight hot spots. So it's really good at not announcing your location. It's like a lightsaber when you look at it at night. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen my review of this Odin Turbo, please make sure you're checking my Olight playlist, or any of these lights for that matter. Any light that I'm doing on this video today. But check that Olight playlist and you can take a closer look at that review. But this one is fantastic for mounting on your weapon. And these are lights that I would consider to be used around camp or to be used around the shop or something like that. The first one is the Archer. This is a prototype that was sent to me. I did not review the actual released version. It's a good light, but I didn't like the fact that you couldn't take the battery out and replace it if you needed to. The next one was a very popular one that I really enjoyed a lot. This was the Seeker 2. It had fantastic run times. It was just a wonderful light. The next one, Seeker 2 Pro, is absolutely wonderful. This one had power level indicators, battery level indicators, very bright, magnetic charging, just a wonderful, wonderful light. It had a moonlight mode of 5 lumens, which gave you 12 days of runtime, and it had 3,200 lumens on turbo. It gave you 250 meters of throw out of this. And then they released the Seeker 3 Pro, which was an upgraded version of the Seeker 2 Pro. Instead of having 3 LEDs like the Seeker 2 had, when the Seeker 3 came out, they had 4 LEDs. They had a proximity sensor. You can barely see it on the top of the light right there. It's a little black dot. The proximity sensor. So the Seeker 3 Pro, as far as run times and performance and brightness and stuff like that, it's my favorite of this whole group. But if I had to pick one, I cannot pick the Seeker 3 Pro. For me personally, I have to pick one of these Seeker 2s, probably the Seeker 2 Pro. The reason I would select the Seeker 2 Pro over the improved Seeker 3 Pro is because if I'm putting this light on my nightstand at night and somebody breaks into my house, I can grab the light, push that button, and the light comes on. The Seeker 3 Pro has an automatic lockout function, which is very nice. It prevents accidental turning on of the light, but in an emergency, I don't have time to spin around this little switch and all this to get this light to work. So I have to go back to the Seeker 2 Pro for the simple fact of simplicity. If somebody's breaking in my house and I grab this flashlight, I can push that button and know that that thing is going to come on without hesitation. It also has a lockout mode that you can turn on and off. And if I have this light in lockout mode, I don't have to spin a dial in an emergency. I can just push and hold the button down if it was locked out and the light will come on. Another reason why I choose the Seeker 2 Pro is because this one comes with the L dock. And that L dock is fantastic. You can charge just about any Olight using an L dock. I wish they would have continued to release that L dock with the Seeker 3 Pro, but they didn't. So that's why I choose the Seeker 2 Pro above the Seeker 3 Pro, even though the run times and lumen levels and distance of throw and all these things are better. I got to go with what works for me, and therefore Seeker 2 Pro. Now these two keychain lights, the i3E, these are fantastic lights. These are generally lights that you can find for free. In fact, the Christmas sale coming up, they are giving the Christmas i3Es away for free. All you have to do is log into your account and this will be added to your cart. So these are a really good light. They're a good keychain light. They have 90 lumens of output and they put out about 44 meters of throw, and they run for about 45 minutes. These are good lights. The next ones are micro USB rechargeable. These are the i1R2 EOS. This is also the same model that the iThanks was. These are good lights. They have a low mode and a high mode. The next ones are the i1R2 Pros. These are not micro USB. These are USB-C rechargeable. They have longer run times, brighter lights, also 2 settings, low and high, and they are just fantastic. And then over here we have the iMini, which you can still find, I believe, and this one's really cool because you connect this to your keychain and it's magnetic. So this small portion of the light disconnects from the magnet. This red top portion stays on your keys and you carry this little tiny light with you. It's a cool little light and you can still find them on the website, I believe. They have special batteries that they run on, but they are very good. So as far as keychain lights are concerned, I think I would choose the i1R2 Pro as my favorite of those keychain lights. So I've got a couple pens here to show you. I've got the O Pen Mini, which does not have a light. It is just a fantastic little pen that you can carry around, and they write incredibly well. The O Pen 2 was a wonderful light. It has the bolt action style design, and so does the O Pen Pro. If I had to choose one of these three, I would choose the O Pen Pro. It is USB-C rechargeable. So is the O Pen 2, but the Pro also has a laser on it, so it could be used as not only a writing implement and a flashlight, but also a pointer, so a laser. O Pen Pro is fantastic. Now these next two lights are a lot of fun. We've got the X7, which is fantastic. This thing runs on 4 standard 18650 lithium ion rechargeable batteries. Then we have the Marauder 2, which is wonderful. Now I wish I could have had the Marauder Mini here to show you. I'm just going to show you what I have here. The X7 had a moonlight mode of 3 lumens, which lasted 720 hours. That's 30 days of runtime. It also produced 9,000 lumens on turbo, which gave it 313 meters of throw. It was a fantastic light, and I use this one all the time. I absolutely love my X7. I like the fact that it uses standard 18650s. That I can't get that out of my head. That is one of the big reasons why I just absolutely love this X7. Now the Marauder 2, everything that the X7 had, the Marauder 2 blows it out of the park. This thing is fantastic. Moonlight mode, 59 hours of runtime, and that's 50 lumens if you're on spotlight and 200 lumens if you are on floodlight using this switch. So that's your moonlight mode, 59 hours. That's 2.5 days of runtime. Now this thing also has battery level indicators, and it's got brightness level indicators. It has USB-C recharging, and this can also be used as a power bank to charge other things. Fantastic. And it puts out 14,000 lumens of output, and it creates 800 meters of throw. This Marauder 2 is absolutely fantastic. You open this up and it's USB-C. Now, from what I understand, the Marauder Mini has a standard USB magnetic recharging. So very, very cool. I'd really like to take a look at one of those. Now this next section is what I would call my fun section. So right here on the right, we have the Night Tour. This was the prototype that was sent to me, and I freaking love that thing. And over here we have the release version of the Night Tour. Awesome, awesome light. In the back we've got the O-Lantern Mini, and then we have the O-Lantern Classic 2 Pro. This thing is wonderful. Now, just to say right off the bat, if I have to pick one of these 4 in the back row, I'm choosing that lantern. That thing is wonderful. It's got low of like 10 lumens. It'll last 7.5 days. It's got an incandescent looking light. It also has white light, and it's got a power level indicator. You can use it as a power bank to charge other things. It's got a nice bell here that you can carry this thing and hang it, and it's magnetic recharging. This thing is fantastic. That USB-C port that I talked about underneath that cover there, that is for charging other things. It is wonderful. Now in the middle we got a couple oil bulbs. We got the standard oil bulb, the oil bulb MC, and the oil bulb Pro. All three of those are wonderful. I like the Pro the most, but I like the MCs a lot. All three of these float on water and stuff, so the oil bulbs are a lot of fun. You can turn them on, throw them in the pool, let the kids swim over there and get them, stuff like that. They are wonderful. Here is the swivel. This is the original. This is a cool little light. On the bottom, it's got magnets, so you can magnet it to things. It's got a light here that has a little bit of spot and a little bit of flood. So it's a very cool light. It's got a power level indicator. Very, very cool. So I like the swivel. On this current cell that they're coming out with for Christmas, they're coming out with a couple more versions of the swivel. That is very, very interesting. So you guys should go over to the website and take a look at that. The link is in the description box down below. One of my favorite things that they've done is this Almano. This thing is very cool. This is a charger. It's USB-C, and it gives you the option to charge 4 different devices simultaneously. So that thing is wonderful. This thing has been a lifesaver for me being a product reviewer of flashlights, because if I got to do a video and I got to charge a couple lights, or if I'm getting ready to go on a trip, I could make sure that those lights are charged up and I can do it all in one whack. So that charger is one of my favorite things that they've done in a long time. Now this next section of lights are very good lights too. I really like this section. These ones here would almost, these R50 Pro Seekers are discontinued. You can't get these anymore. Those are replaced by the Seekers. They were good lights. Then you have your Warrior X series. These three, the Warrior X, the original, this one ran on an 18650 battery. The Warrior X Pro came out on a 21700 battery, and the Warrior X Turbo came out. These two are my favorite of the 3 Warrior X's. I like this this thrower. This thing is fantastic. They have the magnetic tail cap switches that can also be momentary or constant. You can charge them there. This Warrior X Pro is the most durable flashlight I think that Olight manufactures. This thing is bomb-proof. You can see the original Warrior X. I beat the crap out of that thing. And the Warrior X Pro has even better impact resistant ratings and stuff like that than the previous generation. This is a solid light. So if you're looking for something that's going to be tough as nails, this Warrior X Pro is a good one. It's got a good balance of beam distance and also flood, so it's a good beam. If you want to reach out to over 1,000 meters, definitely take a look at the Warrior X Turbo though. This thing is a thrower, fantastic light. Then you got these 2 Javelots. You've got the Javelot Pro 2 and the Javelot Mini. The Javelot Mini is a new light that just came out, and it is wonderful, but I gotta choose the Javelot Pro 2. This thing has low of 15 lumens. It'll last 12 days of runtime, and on high, you get 2,500 lumens out of this bad boy. Over 1,050 meters of throw. It's got power level indicators, battery level indicators. This is a wonderful light, the Javelot Pro 2. Now here are some of the knives that Olight offers, and they've done a really good job on these knives. Starting off, you have the Drever, you have the Splint, the Beagle, and the Parrot. And then in the back, doing its own thing, you got the Fortitude. Of all of these knives, oh, I didn't mention the Nightclaw, did I? This little Nightclaw is fantastic. G10 handle scales and D2 tool steel. This little bad boy is tough. But let's go back to my favorite of this whole group is the Fortitude. I did not get this sent out for review. I purchased this Fortitude, and it is a wonderful knife. It's got a Kydex sheath, D2 tool still, G10 handle scales. By far my favorite knife of all these O knives. This Parrot is pretty cool. It's got micarta handles, very good still on these knives. They open like butter. These things are fantastic. They open really easy. They are slick knives. Very easy to open. Again, that is the Drever. I think that's G10. Very nice handles. Then the Splint has a different blade profile. And this one opens up just as quick, just as smooth. I mean, those are smooth opening knives. The Beagle I like as far as all the folders. I think this is probably my favorite one of all the folders, but it does not have that quick thing that you flip to open it. You have to do your thumb thing, and I'm not as good at that. But I like the blade profile of this one here, this Beagle. All of these knives that O Knife is making are very easy to carry. They're very comfortable. And then of course you got your little Parrot here. This thing has a very thick blade if you think about this distance here. It's got the little shaft lock and it does flop open pretty quick. You got to get past that little fulcrum point though. So you got to kind of get it started and then it'll flop open. It's cool. I like those micarta handle scales. They did a good job on this one. And the Night Claw. We can't forget the Night Claw. It's got a little button here in the center, so you can flop that baby closed. You can kind of put your finger in position and it'll kind of flop out. But that is made out of good materials. That steel is D2 tool steel. That's the same steel that they're using on the Fortitude. Very, very good steel. And the G10 handle scales, this thing is wonderful. So it's a good EDC, small. Maybe, you know, you don't want to carry something big, but you need a knife. Maybe you got to do something in a survival way or something. This is, a knife is better than no knife, and this Night Claw is definitely cool. But my favorite by far is the Fortitude. I asked my rep to send me one of these out for review and I never heard back about it. And then when I found out that they were available, I bought one, and this thing is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen my video review of the Fortitude, it's worth taking a look at. Although I'll admit, towards the end of the video, I spent way too much time playing that song over and over and over and making that fire. But it was a good video. It was a good review, and this knife is wonderful. You put it in the sheath here, there is no sound, no rattle. You have this button that you can push that locks this shut, so you can attach this to a belt or molly, and then you slide this over and it won't allow the button to push anymore, so it's locked in. It's a very good retention. You can take those two screws out and change whatever kind of orientation you want this to have. So it's a very nice knife. I love the Fortitude. Well, folks, I want to say thank you for stopping by today on this video and checking out a lot of my Olights. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a lot of fun and a lot of work to make this video. So please feel free to leave a comment down below and hit that thumbs up if you would, please. If you're interested in anything Olight, I will put my Olight affiliate link down in the description box down below. And if you want to purchase anything, please go through that link. It won't cost you anything more, but it will help me out. And that's something that I do to help make a living. So with all that being said, folks, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. We'll see you on the next one. And in the comment section down below, I want to know, what is your favorite Olight? Please tell me down below. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.